What's up guys, BltzZ here today bringing you another video. First things first, hello! Hope all is well with you guys. I know it's been quite some time and there are tons of news from last month that dropped that I totally missed out on. I was away on vacation, caught the cheek clapping tag team duo of COVID and pneumonia, and I had to take a break to, live and get better. I'm much better now, feeling really good. I've been streaming and stuff, but the news and videos have been pretty dry recently here on YouTube. But tonight, at 3 a.m., well, this morning at 3 a.m., Audrey posted that there was an interview with Kazushige Nojima, which came out, and I thought it was a great opportunity to get back into things. Nojima has written the stories of most Final Fantasy games and some movies as well within the series, the most famous, of course, being Final Fantasy VII. Last month, Nojima's book, Traces of Two Paths, came out, and it's a light novel talking about the prequel stories of Aerith and Tifa. If you guys are interested in me highlighting more information from the book in a future video, let me know, because I'd love to personally catch up with it too myself. Now, with all that being said, let's get into this interview. The interviewer says the last Final Fantasy VII light novel you wrote was Final Fantasy VII Turks, The Kids Are Alright, which was written in 2011, and 10 years has passed since then. Can you let us know what made you go back to writing light novels and the reason why you decided to write Final Fantasy VII Remake Traces of Two Paths? Nojima said, I received offers to do so on several occasions. I just felt that I had to write it. I was able to find time to write it, which got me moving forward. The interviewer then says, let's talk about the book's contents first. Two stories are the Traces of Tifa and Traces of Aerith, which revolve around Tifa and Aerith's childhood before the start of Final Fantasy VII Remake. When did you decide on the outline of the entire work? Nojima says, I came up with a synopsis around summer of 2020, if my memory serves correctly. The final version is quite different from the draft, though. It's been quite a while since he last did a book indeed. I mean, 10 years is that's a decade, bro. But it's interesting to hear that it basically took him 1 year to come up with a synopsis for Traces of Two Paths and have it published and ready for us to enjoy a year later. Nojima, if you have any plans to cover other characters in the novels, please hook us up, because we got lots of times on our hands these days. We're just waiting, man. It's been dry. The interviewer then asked, aside from the story being a prequel of sorts, are there any other important points to note? Nojima says, as you probably know, Final Fantasy VII is comprised of many different works, and each time when something new is added, it's either a setting or an episode. However, Final Fantasy VII Remake has taken those elements and rebuilt them. This light novel takes place with that at its base instead. The interviewer says, aside from Tifa and Aerith, are there any other Final Fantasy VII characters that they can interact with? Nojima says, yes, there are various characters who are present that they encounter from their childhood up until adolescence. So yeah, these light novels will never reveal any upcoming details for the story or direction of Final Fantasy VII Remake Parts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It will continue to use the base story as we already know and just touch on the characters' backgrounds as far as that goes. Which makes sense because you don't want to add any extra shit and accidentally extend the game's narrative and inevitably delay everything, since now you have to go and insert those new elements in. And as far as the characters goes, I mean, I've already heard of some who appear in these novels, but most likely you can expect to see ones from their past make appearances or have some references. The interviewer then brings up to Nojima that only 31.8% of people that watch and love these videos are currently subscribed. Guys, hit that subscribe button. It's totally free. Helps the channel out a ton. I survived a badass pneumonia COVID combo and just got my taste back finally. My smell is still gone though. But it would mean a lot if you guys would hit that button, and we're here to hang out with us on a regular. We have a PlayStation 5 giveaway going on right now, and it's actually ending soon, August 31st. We will be finding out who the winner of this PlayStation 5 is very soon. To join and enter the giveaway, you have to be a paid member of any tier on the YouTube channel. And you can also qualify for entries by joining our new Patreon. Tiers are all the same from YouTube. And another exciting announcement is that we are now also streaming on Twitch. So make sure you guys follow the Twitch channel, because we are so close to being affiliated. Currently, we're sitting at 211 followers between 2 days of streaming, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. It's been absolutely unreal and just a lot of fun hanging out with you guys on Twitch as well. Very soon, we will be counting the Twitch subs for the giveaway once we unlock them. So we have tons of new stuff starting up. Just make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that. And now, let's get back into the video. The interviewer then asks, does a light novel shine some light on the various mysteries surrounding Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VII Remake? Nojima says, although the story does not answer those mysteries, it does supplement you with what happens in the background of the story that you don't get to see in the game. Various mysteries of Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. To me, this clearly is him trying to bait a answer from Nojima in regards to who, I guess, does Cloud like more, Tifa or Aerith? I mean, that's just what it comes across as to me. Because, I mean, what other mystery could he be talking about? Because he clearly says before that it's just taking the stuff that we already know at the base of the game. So, good job on Nojima for deflecting that. Forget those toxic shippers. Jesse's dead! The interviewer says both of the stories shine light on the protagonists who steadfastly live on despite the unfortunate circumstances surrounding them. Can you tell us what kind of story device you use to get these ideas? Nojima says, I thought about those who were able to overcome various sadnesses in their life. Aerith tries to get used to the environment by maintaining a very upbeat personality and believing that she isn't sad. Tifa undergoes training to stop herself from dwelling in the past, and she's able to overcome each day this way. There wasn't any particular device that I used to come up with these ideas, but I made sure to be careful to not convolute the story. There were just so many concepts and environments I wanted to portray that those elements itself practically become the protagonists. That's actually pretty cool because in chapter, I believe 11, in the fight with Eligor, we see the younger Aerith dealing with those sadnesses and an older Aerith is trying to overcome it, while Eligor is trying to feed off those emotions that she's trying to suppress and get over with and make it seem like it doesn't bother her. And also get her into a weak mental state to take over her soul or whatever it was that he does. Tifa just straight up goes Goku and trains to not only get stronger but to keep her mind off of those tragedies. And Aerith chooses to keep her mind off of it by pretending that it doesn't bother her and maintaining an upbeat personality and just being the bubbly girl that she is. The interviewer says both Traces of Tifa and Traces of Aerith contain different stories. So let's talk a bit about the contents. Let's start with Traces of Tifa first. Nojima says, although they were childhood friends, they weren't exactly that close. The story deep dives into the relationship between Cloud and Tifa and her encounter with Zangan, the details of how she ended up in Midgar after the tragedy she experienced, and how she lived in the slums without any close relatives. These were the tasks I had when writing the story. I'm proud to say the story became very interesting. I heard a little bit about this through Twitter and Reddit last month, actually, about Tifa's surgery that she had to have because of the scars from her encounter with Sephiroth, and how the people in the slums took advantage of her and essentially robbed and blackmailed her, something I did not think to be possible. This was something that I thought was pretty damn cool to add in, and it really makes her city mentality from when she was training Cloud in like chapter 3 have a little bit more background. Next, let's talk about the Traces of Aerith. Nojima says both Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake depict Aerith's house in the slums as a very special place. It's not just a place where flowers bloom, but the size and scope of the structure really catches your eye. The Gainsborough home looks rather wealthy compared to the rest of the slums. In lieu of that, I wanted to write a story based on that idea, and it became the origin of the plot. Never really stopped to think about that. You know, Aerith does live in the slums, but she kind of has one of the most ballerous houses in that entire like town, most likely. I mean, look what she's got. She got her own waterfall. The only thing she's lacking is that bathroom, but we all know what she'd be doing. How you think she saved that money on that manure? The interviewer then asks, in Traces of Aerith, is there a chapter called Coda, the research team within the painting? What was that about? Nojima says, in Final Fantasy VII Remake, you can see the room Aerith used to live in within the Shinra building. In the room, there is a large painting on the wall. The painting seems to contain a story of its own, and that became the starting point. The interviewer then asks, has anything changed for you in regards to coming up with new stories, whether they be scenarios or light novels? Nojima says, it certainly brought a more vigorous sense of challenge to mind. I have so many different things I'd like to include within the work now. Perhaps it's because I'm getting older and with less time on my hands, so I've grown kind of impatient. The interviewer then says, in the past, you mentioned that when writing a light novel, you have taken a lot of freedom to express whatever you like to express, but writing it down was the hard part. Has that opinion changed? For example, have you made progress with their methodology? And if so, what exactly are they? Nojima says, when I was a child, I loved reading light novels. As a result, I had really high ideals, but when I wrote my own books, my hands could never quite reach that high level of idealism. For the longest time, it was very difficult for me to write light novels. However, I no longer have that struggle. Perhaps it's because now I know who I am myself. The interviewer asked, are there any differences between game scenarios, light novels, or other medias, such as movies, stage plays, or etc., that you have felt when trying to come up with a new story? Nojima says, scenarios are the blueprints of games, movies, and stage plays that involve others too. However, with light novels, the entire story is reliant on the person writing it without much involvement from others. So I think that's a really big difference. It also depends on the scope of the knowledge from the readers. For example, how much do they know about the world of Final Fantasy VII? This always presents challenges each time I tackle it because it determines what I should or should not write. For example, if I spend too much time building up the environment, then it would take up way too many pages and the story would not progress at all. There you go, guys. That's the reason why Final Fantasy games take so long to come out. The interviewer says, some time ago we talked about you, Nojima, as a creator, delving into your roots, your background. However, from then until now, where you've come back to writing books, has there been any other work that has influenced you, whether it be light novels or something else? Nojima says, I have a huge liking to the works of Ferdinand von, whatever that word is, German lawyer and writer of the highly acclaimed crime stories. His brisk sentences feel really nice to read. Of course, I'm reading the translated versions, and I challenged myself to see if I could write similarly with the chapter, the research team within the painting. I planned to write the other two stories with a similar writing style, but it turned out to be quite different. Also, thanks to the streaming services these days, I've been able to watch way more movies. Regarding Traces of Two Past, while writing them, I kept in mind if these stories would have the same video adaptation, similar to On the Way to a Smile, Denzel's episode as such. I paid specific attention to make sure that each scene was very vivid. And not only that, for what it's worth, I also heard from many other people that he also has been watching a lot of Game of Thrones over the last couple months or something like that. And I think he mentioned as well that he knows, obviously, and we all know this too, that the way Game of Thrones ended was but the rest of the show, what it makes up for, like, you know, what the show was known for, it's still pretty good, even though the last 10% is bad. So knowing that he's taking inspiration from Game of Thrones, I wonder how that's going to affect him when, you know, writing the future stories and iterations of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Who's going to die? The interviewer asked, do you have any plans to write more light novels in the future? Nojima says, the difficulties I felt until the final draft are still fresh in my mind, but I guess I should probably forget about that with these light novels. The interviewer then chimes in and says, for example, like, what about a Traces of Yuffie or other stories? Nojima said, aside from Yuffie, the remaining characters are all older guys. I guess that would be alright. Vincent would probably be rather interesting. Probably be rather interesting? Nojima, no, it most definitely would be interesting. But also, more background of Sid and Reeve and other characters would be something to enjoy too. Or just another perspective on Barrett's backstory, even though we technically already know it if you've played the original Final Fantasy VII. I'm just happy to see they're considering doing more of these for other characters. Now, if they could officially translate it for the English-speaking audience, I'm talking about the book itself, that would be phenomenal. But we gotta wait some time for that. And lastly, do you have any message to the fans of Final Fantasy VII? Nojima says, thank you to all the fans out there who have loved this very long series ever since 1997. I'm sure there are many new fans who started Final Fantasy VII Remake recently. The series will continue from here on out, so hope for your support. And for those who can't wait till the next installment, please have fun reading Final Fantasy VII Remake, Traces of Two Past. I would be so delighted if you can. Pretty interesting read. I would love to meet Nojima one day. I mean, the guy co-wrote or fully wrote the story for one of my favorite games of all time. But seriously though, release these kinds of books for other characters too, so we can, you know, kill some time together and learn a lot more about these pixels we all know and love. And that wraps it up for this video, guys. Final Fantasy VII Traces of Two Past starts off with Aerith and Tifa's, well, prequel backstories. And we hear from Nojima himself that he may have plans to do more in the future that revolve around the other characters, which I'm super excited for. Guys, I've been going through my old clips and streams, and I'll be uploading highlights very soon. We have a lot of fun on there, but we got to share with the rest of the platform. I mean, some of this stuff has gone unseen by 80% of you guys. In addition to being back streaming, don't forget to follow your boy on Twitch now, guys. We now stream on both platforms and are almost there to being affiliated on Twitch, and we'll have subs and all that good stuff very soon. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe if you are new. More Final Fantasy VII Remake videos are coming your way and you won't want to miss them. My name is BltzZ, and thanks for watching.